Neil deGrasse Tyson here, personal astrophysicist. Today, we're going to talk about protecting Earth from space. Chuck, always good to have you, man.
Always a pleasure. Honestly, I think today's show should be called Destroying Earth from Space.
From space.
Or from within.
Or from...
Because we seem to be doing our damnedest to get it done, don't we?
I try to turn a blind eye to that, but I should. What we have is writer, producer, director, Adam McKay. Adam, welcome to Star Talk.
Adam gets an applause. Now, you know, we don't applaud our guests here, but Adam...
You have never applauded anyone
You
ever.
know I have never
Chuck.
applauded a guest, Neil. But
That is true.
I'm just so impressed with what he has just accomplished.
Well, let me put some of his resume out there. So, you're former head writer for SNL, right? And you're co-founder of Upright Citizens Brigade. Very cool. I love their work. And you're also co-writer, along with Will Ferrell, with Anchorman. Right, that was cool. Talladega Nights, Step Brothers. Okay, co-founder of Funny or Die. All right, that's a production company, if I remember correctly. Is that right? And wrote and directed The Big Short. I distinctly remember that movie. It was like, oh my gosh, this happened. But that's not why we have you on the show right now.
That's right, because
that's not
quite
why.
frankly, all of that is gold-plated dross in comparison to why we have Adam on the show.
Which is because of my workout routine, which I'm going to share with you today.
Exactly.
My diet, my weight program.
Right.
That's exactly not the reason.
Like
So Adam,
50-year-old.
Adam has a new Peloton class. He wants to.
he's trying to plug.
He's trying to plug his new Peloton class.
So Adam, you wrote, directed, and produced the Netflix hit.
I can't.
Don't Look Up. It's a movie.
That is correct.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
And it's star-studded, starting Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, and you know, there's a dozen famous people who have each starred in their own films. You managed to collab them together for this script, and it's about an asteroid that's headed towards Earth, putting all of life on Earth at risk, and the travails and challenges and the troubles of the scientists trying to alert the public, and everyone ignores them or discounts it. And so, what the hell were you thinking?
I love it.
What? Who told you to make this? Why? Who? Why? Did your mama do? Explain yourself, please.
You know, like a lot of ideas came from Star
Impossible.
Which is the last 5, 10, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, back to 1965.
It's locked.
Of just our culture and our leaders and our industry and our media ignoring that we're flooding the atmosphere, the climate with CO2, and we are on a bad path. And I had the unfortunate experience of colliding with a lot of this information, reading scientific reports and reading a great book by David Wallace called The Uninhabitable Earth, which you have read and awaken up when it comes to the climate. And I really started, like my wife can tell you, at a certain point, I was losing sleep, and I kept looking at our world and going,
I need mama.
missing here. And rather than my initial idea was, do a big, dramatic, dystopic, serious movie. But then a friend of mine who's a journalist made an offhanded joke, David Sirota, where he just said it's Armageddon. The asteroid is coming and no one cares. And I was like, that's it. And then I thought if we could laugh, if we could have some laughter about the crazy world we live in, as well as some big emotions, that maybe that's something that could go out into the world and
Greetings.
hit millions of people and maybe jar some feelings loose. So that was it. It was
So
definitely
you were born to make this movie. That's what you're telling me.
I am telling you that I was plucked from the Schuylkill River outside Philadelphia, where I'm from, and they said this child should make a movie for Netflix.
Like
Impossible.
Like Dirty Moses pulled from the river.
I was
Charles shall save it. We got to clean him up first.
Well, he said school kill. That's why I call him Dirty Moses.
Impossible.
Because, you
No,
know,
it's Schuylkill's dirty.
yeah, I'm from
dirty.
Philly too, so I can say that. I'm from Philly, so I can say that.
Where are you from in Philly?
I grew up in, well, I was in West Philadelphia. I was born and raised.
West Philly?
Yeah, but
Street boys.
I can't.
Street boys.
Yeah, but I actually, when I was 6 years old, my parents looked at me and they said, "Oh, we gotta move because this boy
I need a
can never
key."
make it here." So then we moved to very waspy Chestnut Hill, where I fit in just perfectly.
Ooh, chestnut.
yeah.
That explains everything, Chuck. There it
Yeah.
is, right there.
Yeah.
So Adam, what enabled you to amass this level of talent? I'm presuming, I mean, these are people who are well paid in their own movies. So is there some kind of social cause that they get to justify doing this without having to get their normal paycheck?
No. I mean, you know, the cool thing is, I got to give a lot of credit to Netflix. You know, Netflix read this crazy script and was just like, yep, we're
Impossible.
roll with this. And, you know, the whole kind of emotional
I need mana.
impetus for the project was the idea that there's hundreds of millions of us out there that are freaking out, even though if you look through the TV channels or you look on, you know, parts of social media, people seem like they're freaking out about other things, or they're, you know, they don't care, or it's about the stock market, or it's about, you know, politicians' legacies. And
Impossible.
the idea was
Impossible.
there's a lot
Impossible.
of us out there that feel what's going on. And that played out with the actors. All the actors we went to were like, "Yup, I want to laugh about this. I want to
want
go
a piece
into
of that."
this."
Yeah, but Adam, you started describing your concerns based on climate change, but you didn't make a movie about climate change. Maybe it's allegorical, but you had to come into my place, into my universe, and tell a climate change story where you don't even mention climate change.
And that's because
Why are you coming in my space to do this?
because your space and your people have been trying to kill us since the inception of your whole science. It's always about us. The universe is trying to kill us.
That's true. I get that. So, at what point did you say, maybe if I told it about climate, no one would pay attention, so let me tell it about asteroids? So this is a storyteller's ruse, right?
Yeah, in a way, because I think one of the tricky things with the climate crisis, which you gentlemen I'm sure know, is that it's slow and
Impossible.
even though now
Impossible.
it's getting much faster
Impossible.
and much more overt. But I think one of the tricky things is, you know, the way we're wired as humans, we know how to freak out and run from a bear, or we know how to like deal with a serial killer. Like, we all get that. But the idea that these gases, you know, this carbon that we're burning is creating
That you can't see. Yeah.
that you can't see, and you have to go to climate scientists who, God bless them, aren't really, you know, built to like be the PR front for this story. I think it just falls in a tricky area, and so I thought by replacing the climate crisis with a comet, which is something we all sort of mostly get, like that's scary, would put the spotlight on our messed up human reaction. And that's really what the movie's about. And the movie's really about how we've, you know, befouled, twisted, and manipulated the very ways that we talk to each other through social
I
media,
can't.
through media,
I need mana.
through career, through money, and that's really ultimately what the movie's about.
Chuck, did you hear how lightly he referenced the media ineptitude of scientists.
Right, and well,
What phrase did you use?
Not just that, but the way he basically cajoled the public in their response, because this movie could have just as easily been called "Hey Dumbass." That could have been the name of the movie.
I mean, wait. Let me
I didn't say you said that, Adam.
Let me defend that point.
Yeah, he didn't put those words in your
I
mouth.
didn't put those words in your mouth, Adam.
I mean, the people at large have been, chest deep in BS, spin, and
Yes.
marketing for decades, and I think it's tricky. I mean, you look at like the resistance to the vaccine. Well, for decades, people
I
were getting
can't.
sold, crazy drugs like OxyContin. Their doctors are telling them, "Oh yeah, take this," and then we're surprised when like a vaccine comes out, and people are like, "I don't know about that."
I
So
can't.
there's been a lot
Impossible.
of like marketing, PR, twisting, turning about science, which is crazy, and it kind of makes people have to like figure out how science works and what real science is versus marketing PR science. So we're in a tricky spot, and so no, it was cool to see people's reactions for the movie, because it went worldwide and everyone was kind of like, oh yeah, I get that.
So let me ask.
And I gotta read my tweet. I gotta read my tweet.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw my tweet, but I'm gonna read it right now.
I did. I
I
think I retweeted it. I love some love from Neil. I took it.
Twitter love. I said, finally saw the Netflix film.
I can't.
A fictional
Not enough
of a
mana.
nation distracted by pop culture and divided on whether to heed dire warnings of scientists. Everything I know about news cycles, talk shows, social media, and politics tells me the film was a documentary. That's all. I stood there flat-footed and put it out there.
Before you go any further, since you said that, Neil, since you just said that, which is the fact that it's a documentary, what was the pushback, if any, from what community or any community that saw this and said,
I can't.
what the hell
Impossible.
are you doing? Or that's a bunch of BS, or oh, look at you, whatever. Was there any of that?
Oh yeah, we got some of that. I mean, anytime you do a comedy, certain people are going to be with it or not with it,
Yeah.
and so that's a given. But then, there was some.
He
there
means,
was-
Chuck, anytime you offend people are going to be with you. That's what he means.
Well,
But he
it
said,
ain't-
anytime you
it-
do a comedy, right?
Well, it ain't comedy unless somebody's offended.
I mean, we
Is that what
definitely
that
had
is? Okay.
certain quarters of the media were not too happy with the movie. I mean, we go pretty hard at the collective media. There was one paper that's pretty famous for climate denial, where their critic did not care for the movie. So you got some of that. But for the most part, once the movie premiered on Netflix, it was a great universal response of, we know what that's saying. It was really heartening, actually, because
Impossible.
I think there's this idea that people don't get it, that people are bored, they want entertainment. And it's like, no, people actually know what's going on, and they're frustrated with the BS. So it was a cool moment to see that people across the political divide. I mean, the weird thing about this movie is it got some great responses
I need
across
mom.
the red-blue political divide, which I didn't know what to expect.
Impossible.
When I saw that, it was actually hopeful.
Cool.
Okay. So at this point, we're going to reveal some of the things that happened at the end of the movie.
Spoiler alert.
So you can sort of fast forward to the next segment if you'd like to right now. So I was particularly intrigued by Meryl Streep's character playing the President of the United States. And there's a...
Impossible.
Based on some amalgam of personalities out there that you thought would do just right as president?
No, just one.
No, just
Sorry.
No, I mean, there's definitely a bigger tablespoon of the last president in there. The sort of blinding narcissism, only responding to the moment, no foresight, no question that's in there. But, you know,
I can't carry
I
anymore.
talked to Meryl about it, and there's also a little bit of Bill Clinton in there. There's some, you know, the used car salesman, kind of slick, you know, sort of nefarious Bill Clinton. There's also, you know, half a tablespoon of George W. Bush, dangerously unqualified. So, unfortunately,
Well, plus it was the
America-
announcement on the battleship. The announcement on the ship was part of that, right? There's some
Exactly.
scenes there where,
Photo
yeah. So that's why I didn't. So Chuck, I didn't
I can't.
actually identify any one actor with any one. There's enough of an amalgam there that I saw all of society, all of American society.
Impossible. I can't.
Practically all of it.
I need mom.
The other problem
Talk
is
show host.
I'm not as smart as either one of you, so what
You're
I
a
saw,
simple character.
yeah, what I
played
saw
a
was what I
simple-
wanted to see. I saw what I wanted to see.
I was wondering, Adam, up to that point, are people just a lens, not a lens, are they their own filter? And they will then see in this, like to what Chuck said, what they want to see without really grasping the fuller storytelling that you imbued it with.
I mean, I was really happy with how people got it. I mean, people got the idea, you know, there's jokes in the movies about super donors being allowed in the White House.
Yes.
There's, you know, clearly the media is just concerned with good cheer and keeping the ratings up. And it was pretty amazing to see those reactions. And even the ending of the movie where, you know, once all the white noise of our kind of profit kind of jumble of media goes away, how things got real, about family,
I am
faith,
overburdened.
like people really got into it. I was like really happy
I can't
with that
carry
part of the
anymore.
response, even though there was certainly an element that was like, didn't take it. For the most part, the public at large was dialing into it. So, you know, you never know. You have these feelings. You make a movie. Kind of seems like how the world is now. I mean, you look at the White House now, which is, you know, the opposition party, and then the Congress is owned by the opposition party. Well, what's going on with them? They're stuck in the mud because of dirty money, and they're not doing anything. So, you know, these problems, I think we've been scammed in some ways with this red-blue game.
Yes.
I think it's all about dirty money, big money, and if we could just get that out, things would start moving a lot better. So it was cool to see people around the world identify with that and know that was the case.
So let me ask you this: was this on purpose, or was it just a byproduct of or a natural outcome
I can't.
of what you just mentioned? At the end, there was kind of an admirable nod to
I
AI
can't.
in a very humorous way, where the technology and the prediction, the predictive analytics of technology came true. But at the same time, the reliance upon the people who run technology effed everything up. Was that purposeful?
Impossible.
Chuck went deep. Chuck went
Chuck
like
was deep. Chuck,
3 layers into the Mosaic, into the Platonic with that one.
I need a
like it.
key.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's incredible, these algorithms that they use for social
wait,
media.
Chuck. It sounded like he didn't intend any of that at all. Yeah, I did that on purpose. That's what, Adam. That's what you sounded like just then. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was that brilliant when I wrote that part.
By the way, that's a
Impossible.
much better answer. I should have been mysterious and just said, Chuck, you gotta find your own meaning in it. You just make what we do.
Impossible. Impossible.
I would have taken it. Find your own meaning. No, but you're right, though. I mean, God, you guys know these algorithms they have for search engines and for social media and the way they corral us and get emotions out of us. We were definitely playing around with that, but I like that Rio's character was told what his death was going to be, and then it wasn't. Right? Even though you're right, the president did have her death that was predicted. So as much as the algorithms try and corral us, I guess we were trying to make a point, like you can still stop it. You know.
Right. You need without that kind of message, then you're just pissing people off, depressing people. So let me. It's a rare moment. I have two
I can't.
people in front of me.
I love that I'm the sorta.
No,
That was hurtful, Neil.
That was.
That was
no,
hurtful.
no. Did I say sort of? I didn't mean that. Okay. Given that I have two comedic talents in front of me, I'd like to. Do you think comedy is the best way to change the world?
I'll let Adam do this.
Well, see what you think, Chuck. I mean, here's the funny thing: is the reason we chose comedy with this is comedy is
I
great
can't.
in the sense that it's kind of a truth detector. Like if you wanted to go on stage and do a stand-up routine about how billionaires are taxed too much, I dare you to get a laugh off of that. Like, an audience will know that's bogus.
Impossible.
Fox News comedy show 15 years ago, they just bombed. And, true. And so I think comedy is great. And I also think comedy, you have to have a perspective. You can't laugh at something if you're in the middle of being traumatized by it. Like, it's hard to laugh about a crazed, monkey attacking you. But, like, if you can look from a distance at a crazed monkey, you can laugh at it. So I think comedy does a lot of things. I think it's a truth detector. I think it also means you have to have some perspective. You have to have a little bit of a view of the world, which personally, I think that's exactly what we need right now. The world is so overwhelming and confusing and ridiculous and traumatizing that for us to be able to step back just feels good right away. Chuck, what do you think?
I agree with everything you just said, and I also think that unlike any other message, which immediately puts people in the defensive and immediately causes them to withdraw in whatever thought pattern that they have already.
If they disagree.
If they disagree.
Yeah.
Comedy
I can't.
distracts you because you're laughing first as an impulse, and then you go, hey, which is always my favorite humor when, whether I'm doing it or somebody else is. My favorite thing to happen on stage is when I tell a joke and people laugh and then they groan. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh,
and my
interesting.
answer to that every time is, too late, bitches. I already got you. It's too late. You laughed. It's already funny. You can't come back and groan.
I think that's spot on because it's like you laugh and then you realize in laughing, the world is not black and white.
Exactly.
We're all contradictions. Like I always say with this movie, people are like, oh, you're doing all this. Well, what are you doing? I'm like, don't get me wrong. I'm a moron. If there's a new ad for like a Taco Bell combo burrito filled with mini tacos, I'm like, I want to eat that. And like, I'm way too invested in is Affleck and Jennifer Lopez happy together. Like, I'm way too invested in that. So it's like we're all like this. I mean, we're all animals that love like great smells and like colors. But there's a little part of us too that can do something like step back and take a look at stuff. So that combo is kind of the whole game, which I think is what Chuck's talking about.
It is. And by the way, Adam, let me just say this. I'm stealing
Impossible.
your idea of the taco stuffed burrito, which I'm going to try and sell to Taco Bell and call it the pregnant burrito.
Oh, by the way, wouldn't you order that in a heartbeat?
Without a
Like
doubt,
a
a taco
burrito?
stuffed burrito?
Oh my God.
I mean, a burrito that has mini tacos inside of it.
Yes!
Yeah, there's like 20 little tacos inside a burrito.
It's a burrito made of tacos.
Neil, I mean, I get that you're a
No,
scientist.
that's too meta for me. That's too meta.
You're
I
a
don't know.
profession. The scientific community never could have thought of what Chuck and I are around.
Yeah, the burrito turducken. Come on.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So what do you know about the movie's been out for several months now? Don't Look Up on Netflix. What do you know about what impact it has had?
Some of it's anecdotal. In some cases, Netflix gives you all these crazy statistics. But I mean, it's been really cool. I've just seen some, stories where an opposition leader in the French government the other day referred to Macron's
I can't.
action over the climate as he's like genuinely a global term. I saw the
There it
organizer
is.
of COP in Glasgow refer to Don't Look Up. I've seen it's been mentioned in articles about leaders that are denying science. Extinction Rebellion in the UK has followed around the film and has been mentioning it. So that's really cool. And then they show you the stats where it's like, by some estimates, 250 to 300 million people have seen the movie, and then they show you the social media references, and they're showing you that it's 4-to-1 positive, and so there's a lot of stats, there's a lot of anecdotal, but I can just say.
Okay, but I like the fact that if reference to the movie and its characters becomes part of pop culture, I don't know what more.
Yep.
Right. There are movies that are in our common parlance that say, oh, it's let's go to Oz, right? We know what that means. It's part of our. It's part
Impossible.
Of our cinematic literacy. So
I am
I
overburdened.
think that's an excellent measure. It's actually a better measure of the movie than people absorbing it.
The idea that there's now a phrase for self-interested leaders and media and conglomerates ignoring science, and it's "Don't Look Up" is like, and it seems to kind of be catching. I mean, it's still a little early, but if that was the result,
Impossible. I can't.
doing backwards. I mean, we just tried to get something out there to kind of jar some people, and it's just a movie, so your hopes are fairly modest, but it's exceeded all
Of course,
our.
the tagline of this show, is the opposite. Right? I end every show. Yep. And so to watch the movie, to hear what they don't look up, it's like each one of those was like a dagger to my.
Yeah. You know what? Adam, you should have named your show F You, Neil Tyson.
That's I felt that every time someone said don't look up.
We were really close.
All right, so
we tested it. We printed up posters.
All right, now, Adam, you didn't leave the viewer any hope at the end, except for the infinitely rich who went on the ship, and you didn't like anything. So, what does it mean to offer no hope? This is America. We like some hope.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's just a movie. It's a
Rather, we
fictional-
like happy endings.
Yeah, it's a fictional outcome, but we definitely were very conscious of the fact that we've seen thousands of movies for decades that have the guaranteed happy ending.
Right.
And we were trying to say, if we're not audience members, we're part of this. And unless you do something, there's not a guaranteed happy ending. So it was amazing to see how much that really hit people just because it broke the kind of routine that we're used to. But make no mistake about it, science is powerful. Science is the Excalibur on the wall. If we take it down and use it, we can deal with this urgent climate crisis. I mean, we have renewable energy. It's already
See, what you
cheaper.
could have had, no, Adam, what you could have had was a small faction of people in your movie who watch Star Talk. Okay? And
I
listen to Star Talk.
apologize. I
And then
should
they
have
band
had this in there.
And then they band together, and then they figure out how to convince everybody how to properly deflect the asteroid, and Earth is saved. See, you could have had that.
That could have been the ending. Maybe we'll release that version, but
The
or we
director's cut.
could have had a bunch of people laughing at Chuck's stand-up, and through the joy of their laughter,
I need
they
mana.
see the world clearly, and they get the governments to do it. Could have been either one of those.
Or we could have had the reality of that same scenario where they're actually egging on the end of the world because they're watching
No, but like
Rather than sit through Chuck's routine,
Right.
they'd rather the world end. Is that what you're saying, Chuck?
Even so, come asteroid now.
There was some. So Adam, you probably got this in your screen. When I posted my Twitter comment about the film, the response was wide and varied, and many were humorous. One of them said, "By the end of the film, I was rooting for the comet." They didn't care. They didn't care about anybody.
Yeah.
So Adam, let me get
I can't.
a little half here. If a movie has the power to move people intellectually, emotionally, what you have done with Don't Look Up is hold up a mirror to us all. But a movie also has the power to offer a solution, and you didn't offer a solution. A solution to get to cut through the brush and bramble and the muck and mire of social media and political idiocy. So you could have, and you didn't. So is that, what do you want people to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie was a kick in the ass. And this movie was, what we're missing when it comes
Impossible.
to climate crisis, real action, right? Those two things. And that a lot of people don't feel the urgency in their bones. And I'm not saying they're at fault, it just is what it is. So this movie was designed to be a big, old kick in the pants. And what I hope is other people in certain companies doing it. I want to see other movies, other TV shows. I want to see the news start to cover media, start to cover the different ways we can deal with it. Because there are a lot of ways we can. We have the renewable energy.
I need a key.
There's some early research going on with carbon removal that's really exciting.
Carbon sequestration, yeah.
Yeah, but the fossil fuel companies will come in and use those solutions as a way to slow us down. So you got to kind of distinguish between the good faith and bad faith solutions. But yeah, it is ultimately one movie, and we could only tell so much of the story. And the movie was a kick in the pants, a moment of identification for people that have felt gaslit, and a chance for people to have a little perspective on how. I was going to say,
Who cares?
I was going to say batshit crazy our world is. I was going to say guano crazy our world is. And,
I like that.
Yeah, guano is worth more money anyway.
so that was the goal of the movie. That was the goal of the movie. And yeah, you're 100% right.
Well, let me just dovetail on that for being serious.
He just gave us a beautiful ending to the segment.
Yeah, but
Now
I
you wanna
gotta
add
do
something to
this.
it?
I have to do this, Bill, and
Go.
that is solution. So Yale and George Mason did a study, and in that study, one of the things that was
Impossible.
most prominent is the fact that one of the biggest problems with climate is that people do not talk about it. So when you talk about the impact of movies having a shockwave, the fallout is if people talk about it, that is part of the solution.
You just gave my answer in your question. Yeah, that's it. I don't think people realize how much power they have in just the people they talk to, the way they behave, feeling and emotion. And, advertising companies are trying to replicate word of mouth. That's what they're trying to replicate. But every study shows, nothing's more powerful than people just talking to each other. So that was it. That was the goal of this one. Let's get a little spark going. And
There's so much that both of you just said by quoting Ray Bradbury. And Ray Bradbury will take us out of this segment. He said, when asked by a fan, because Ray Bradbury, the science fiction writer, said, why do you always portray these apocalyptic futures with humanity?
I can't.
Let me show you those futures.
Very good.
good.
That is good stuff. Yeah, you know it's not a competition, Neil.
And I'll do the plug, guys. And as always, this segment is brought to you by Exxon. Exxon, filling all your oil and gas needs. Exxon, care for you and your family.
Exxon, don't look up.
Oh, don't look. Adam, great to have you. Keep being crazy out there and doing things that no one else would even think of doing. and thereby changing the world for the better. When we come back, we're going to invite in my friend and colleague, Amy Mainzer, who's an astrophysicist, who's one of the
I can't.
world's experts
Impossible.
in planetary protection, protecting Earth from asteroids. And she's going to talk about a recent mission launched by NASA to test whether we have the power to deflect asteroids. We're back. We're talking about cosmic things that harm on Earth. Coming off a great interview with Adam McKay, writer, producer, director of Don't Look Up, the Netflix hit movie. And now we bring in a friend and colleague, Amy Mainzer. Amy, welcome back to Star Talk.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be back.
The last I checked in on you, you were at the Jet Propulsion Labs in
May I help you?
Pasadena, California. And where are you now?
Well, I have since moved, and now I'm at the University of Arizona in the Department of Planetary Science.
Very cool. One of the jewels in the crown of that institution. Whenever they look up, they find something good at the University of Arizona. So that's one of the finest departments around. So great to have you back on Star Talk. Now, why do we have you here? We could have had you anyway, just because your expertise thinking about stuff that can harm us. But you doubled down on that as being like the science astro advisor to the film Don't Look Up. And so what we're going to do is we solicited questions from our audience, and a zillion of them came in. But just before we go to those, Chuck, you're loaded up with those questions?
I am.
Good day.
Yeah, okay.
We're all good to go.
We're good to go. So before we do that, let me just ask you, Amy, what did they want you to do for the film?
Well, I think the role of science advisor probably is different for every movie or TV show, but for this one, there was quite a bit to do. There was basically advising Adam and the rest of the cast and the crew on the actual astronomical science, but kind of even more basically, there was a kind of a task of advising them on what it means to be a scientist, how to scientists think, and what do we do when we have bad news to tell everybody based on what we're learning.
So it's interesting. I think probably correctly, because they wouldn't have known this otherwise in the scripting. I was interviewed by MSNBC, and they played a scene about Don't Look Up. And they played a scene where I forgot which character asserts it. It might have been Leonardo DiCaprio. Said, a comet the size of Mount Everest is going to hit Earth. And I say, well, you don't get that size just by accident, because that was the size of the comet that took out the dinosaurs. And so a real astronomer had to be in there using these references.
I can't.
So did I correctly credit you for telling them?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yes, you did. Yeah,
See, Chuck,
we had a
my
lot of
people,
discussions.
our people, we all know how we got to talk. See, Chuck,
Exactly.
just so
Right.
you know.
Yes. The dinosaurs died, and so are you. Or so will you.
And so will you. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully not this time.
Did you also coach them on the behavior of science rather than just script points?
Yeah, we really talked about a lot of different things. What it means to be a scientist, how do scientists think? What are the things that sort of frustrate us? And how do we succeed? And even how do we fail when we're trying to communicate with the public and with people who are
Impossible.
in power? What's going to happen with us?
Yeah, but wait a minute though. You are very good at communicating with the public. How do you train actors to be bad at communicating with the public?
Impossible.
If you told them all you knew, they would have been much better at it. So how do you tell them what you don't know and have them be bad at it?
Well, it's funny because Leonardo and I actually talked a lot about this part that, there's a tendency in science to
I
use
just
a
love
lot of
that
jargon.
you can say that. I mean,
First name
don't-
basis.
First of all, don't even try to just bury that lead. Amy. Don't even try.
Let the woman be first name basis with all
I
these
mean,
people, dude.
Wait a minute, no.
You know, she didn't call him Leo.
Wait a minute. Leonardo and I, we talk a lot about it's like, and we know that you're not doing a seance with Da Vinci. Like,
Okay.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Which would have been very cool.
That would have been even cooler.
And
Yes,
even
that would have been cool.
Possible. That's possible. That would have been very cool.
Even more cool.
We talk a lot about what is it that's so confusing sometimes. Obviously, we use a ton of jargon, and we do it sometimes without even meaning to. I mean, you guys encounter this all the time, right? I mean, we use words in a scientific context. Same word, use it in everyday life, and it takes on a totally different meaning sometimes. The word uncertainty, for example, in science, that has a very specific definition. You use it in almost a mathematical sense. But if you say in everyday life, well, I'm uncertain as to whether there's any rattlesnake in my backyard, that means you don't know, right? But to a scientist, that's really used in a very different way. So we
So,
talked a lot
so
about
people
that.
don't know that we can quantify our ignorance, and that's actually a profound place to be
Yeah.
I
in
was
a
going to
world
say
of
that's
uncertainties.
very
Good day.
scientist of you. We can quantify our ignorance.
Yeah, well, science deals in probabilities all the time, right? I mean, that's just part of what we do as scientists, is we are trying to quantify how likely it is something's going to happen. But that,
Or not happen, yeah.
or not happen,
Yeah.
yeah. And sometimes a kind of a hard one to figure out. I think also, too, just generally, more basically, can we agree that there are facts that are true? And that's a big theme of it.
Impossible.
We agree on.
I can't carry anymore.
So you weren't just a random astrophysicist who advised them to get expertise in asteroid risks. So, give us just some numbers. How many asteroids have us in their path? Just so we can freak everybody out before we start the Q&A.
Well, the very good news is, at the full stop, the movie is pure science fiction. Okay, we don't know of a
No, it's not. So
giant
you lying. That was a documentary. I told everybody that. Okay.
We're very likely there's no comet that we know about that is about to smack into the Earth in 6 months. Full stop. We don't know it. So that's
7 months,
great.
yes, but 6 months
Right,
we're safe.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
Okay. Let's put it there and let's go straight to questions. Chuck, what do you have?
I don't know what you're doing in 6 months and 2 days, but